Well, let's go to the Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis. It's a surprise matchup, not what we were penciling in for a couple of weeks. It's number 3 Penn State taking on number 1 Oregon. The Ducks are 3.5-point favorites, 7 o'clock Saturday, like I mentioned earlier, on CBS. A little bit weird, but CBS carrying this game. Congrats to Gary Danielson and Brad Nessler getting to call this one. They're finally getting to call a good game, guys. I feel like they really haven't gotten a lot of those this year. Guys, the get-in price to this game is like $12. I was low-key Googling how long it would take to drive to Indianapolis because that's amazing for a top 3 matchup. But I think that communicates just a little bit what the stakes are here. Like we mentioned with the SEC, obviously, some coaches will prefer a bye. This is where you definitely could see if Oregon drops, being the 5 seed and having that preferred path like Garrett was talking about earlier. What I think contradicts that just a little bit is I think these are 2 coaches that are hungry and really want to prove some doubters wrong. Dan Lanning and James Franklin, there's been a lot of big game questions about them over the last couple of years. Obviously, Dan Lanning has done a lot to answer those by beating Ohio State this year. But James Franklin, that's obviously still a big monkey on his back as he goes into this one. I honestly don't have a huge beat on this game. It's going to be interesting to see who's more motivated in this one out of those 2 hungry head coaches. But Oregon's kind of been in cruise control a little bit the last few weeks. Penn State's offense seems to be clicking since that Ohio State debacle. Is it crazy that I lean the Nittany Lions to cover the 3.5-point spread? And I think that Oregon maybe squeaks out a win by a field goal, but it wouldn't surprise me if Penn State plays it really tough or sneaks out a win.
They've got the defense to do that, and I think that's the one thing that keeps me from just smacking Oregon minus the points here. I do think the offense has been more complete this year, and Andy Kotelnicki has gone back to the well. It seems like he's gotten a lot of things cleaned up since they were just absolutely stifled against Oregon State. My lingering question is just, can James Franklin rise to the occasion, right? We've seen down the stretch game management come to the fore. And if this is a close game late, then that puts James Franklin's game management squarely in the crosshairs of deciding whether or not they can pull off a Big Ten championship game or not. Remember, they were not expected to be here. They didn't know until, after the big game that they were even going to Indianapolis. And so it feels like maybe Penn State's playing with house money. Maybe that kind of alleviates some of the pressure. But then again, if you're Penn State, you also kind of wonder, hey, when's the next time that we're going to get there? It's got kind of Texas Ranger 2023 vibes, right? Like, well, we're in the World Series. We might as well win this one. So I am concerned about the line. It's suspiciously low. And so I do think we're in for a good game. I'm going to go wait and see mode again. I'm going to take Oregon minus the points. I'll go with who I believe is the better head coach. I'll go with who I believe is the better complete team. And I'll take the Oregon Ducks. I will happily be proven wrong if Penn State can find a way to cover this. Heck, if they can find a way to win this game, that's what I'm watching for on Saturday night.
Yeah, guys, these are 2, fantastic teams. Obviously, you're not in this game if you're not a fantastic team, but these are 2, I think this is the matchup that we deserved, if I'm being honest. A lot of people wanted to see Ohio State in this game. This is the matchup I think that we really deserved. We get 2 pretty evenly matched defenses, neither defense really perfect, but both top 10 in scoring, both very good. The thing that I like in this, though, the Nittany Lions defense attacks the football. They get after the football. I think they got 12 picks on the year. They just go get the ball. When they see it up in the air, it's time to go. It's time to go get that ball. Both teams are extremely good at running the football, right? Thinking, on one side, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen. On the other side, Jordan James has been an absolute beast this year for the Ducks. Both offensive lines mauling. And both quarterbacks playing pretty well. Obviously we know Dylan Gabriel's been having a fantastic season. He leads the Big Ten in most statistical categories. But Drew Aller, for all the hatred he got in the offseason and all of the he's not the guy, he's not going to be able to get over the hump, it's a big year for him, got to prove it. Nobody really came in here thinking he was going to have a great season. And he's been having a pretty good season getting it done. You watch the tape, you turn on the Penn State games, and I had to go back and watch some highlights today just to kind of see what I thought about this game. he just kind of has a winning attitude, right? He just kind of goes, if you need him to pick up the 4 yards to get the first, you see him diving head first for it. And he's not a guy that kind of gives himself up, looks for the sidelines that often. He's a real competitor. And I think that that's something we're not going to give him enough credit for. And I'm really, really pumped about this matchup. For me, when I look at this matchup and it's this close, I got to look for a difference maker, right? I got to look for one player who I think can make that play when it comes down to it. When the score is close or the game's tied, it's the fourth quarter, you need to convert, you need to, it's 3rd and 15, who are you going to go find? For me, it's Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren is such a threat for the Penn State Nittany Lions. He is so talented. He is so just good. He finds his spot. He catches the ball. He comes down to tough contested passes. Tyler Warren's a stud. I'm going to take Penn State to win the game. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to, obviously they'll cover if they get that, but I think they need this. Like both teams need this, kind of like what you're saying, Trey. There's a lot of need to in this game for both coaches, but I think Penn State just feels that deep. Like, okay, we finally got Ohio State out of the way. Yeah, we lost to them, but they kind of blew it this year. So this is our chance. This is our moment. We got to have this. I think everybody in that locker room feels that. And I think they're going to make 1 or 2 more plays down the stretch. This will be one of the best games I think that we're going to see, not just on championship Saturday, but across the whole season. I think this is going to be a really, really fun game. But give me Tyler Warren to come down with the ball that he probably shouldn't come down with to help Penn State put this one across the finish line.
Really interested to see James Franklin in a game that does not involve Ohio State or Michigan, in a big game that does not involve Ohio State or Michigan. He hasn't been able to get those monkeys off his back. But I think this one's either a really close game that comes down to a last-second field goal or a blowout for Oregon. I really don't see a situation where Penn State runs away from this one. I know I teased picking Penn State earlier. I'm going to go with the safe side of the spread, I think, and take Oregon. I think just a more proven team at this point. Played a harder schedule, been winning those games by a wider margin. Penn State's look better, but I'm going to chicken out and take Oregon here.
Gracious, how about